Many people say and ask, why we the humanity, the peoples, different people who belong to many religious traditions and communities, why we cannot live with each other in peace and harmony? Aren't we worshiping the same God? Don't we have commonality between religions? Between Islam and Christianity, between Islam and Judaism, between Islam and other religions? Don't we agree on some human principles in life? So why we are not one nation? Why we are not united? At least why the Muslims are not united? Why do we see conflict among the Muslim community? Don't we face a common enemy? So why don't we get united? Of course, this is the ideal situation, and the ideal solution is to be united. This is what we all should endeavor for. This is what our book, the Holy Quran, says, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Do not be separated, do not be divided, do not have conflict with each other. Respect each other, work together, understand each other. Overlook some of these minor differences between you. Overlook them and get united. And this is the message of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So why don't we listen? Why we still have differences? Why some people hate others? Why some people rival with others? Why there is some envy and hatred and jealousy? And many of these whys. Of course, we'd love to have a utopian community, virtuous community, where people love each other and respect each other and help each other and understand each other. Plato, 2,500 years ago, in his book, The Republic, he wrote about this, Al-Madinatul Fadila, the virtuous utopian city, which is a mythical city. It cannot happen. It did not happen during the time of the prophets. Who's the best man in our opinion? Who's the best man on earth? Who's the most competent? Is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the Prophet, in his community, there were some hypocrites. Some people who come with him and pray behind him and speak to him, and even in the battlefield they go out with him, but they secretly conspire against him. Surah Al-Munafiqun is a testimony. Surah Al-Baqarah is a testimony. Surah Al-Ahzab is a testimony to this. Surah Al-Tawbah, chapter number 5, is a great testimony to this condition, to this state. When Allah speaks about the plots and the ploys of the hypocrites against the Prophet and against the unity of the Ummah. So we cannot find a utopian community anywhere on earth. Utopian community, virtuous community, is found only once. And this is in paradise, not in this life. Even when Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam is going to come to spread peace and justice, there will be some troublemakers who would rise against him, who would oppose him. And ultimately Imam al-Mahdi is going to be murdered. He's going to be murdered by the evil powers. So there is no escape. Unfortunately, there is no escape from this conflict. There is no escape. Why there is no escape? Because in life, when you have justice versus injustice, when you have a truth versus falsehood, when you have people who believe in the equality of the humanity, the unity of the humanity, versus people who believe in superiority. I am better than you. I am your master. You are my slave. You work for me. people who believe in superiority and inferiority, people who believe in racism, people who believe in a prejudice, in discrimination. I was reading the New York Times 3 days ago. It's an interesting story. You must read this story. A black lady in the East Coast who has a PhD, who contributes greatly to her community and her society. She's a genius. She was buying a home on the beach, and she went to the escrow. The last day before they closed the escrow, when she went with her husband, who's a black too, who works for NASA. Her husband works for NASA. Both of them are scientists. The owner of the house was an 82 years white lady. When she saw those two black buying their house, she said, I changed my mind. This is just before closing the escrow. What do you call this? A lady who's 82 years old, and Israel is going to visit her soon, any minute. This is the worst type of racism and a prejudice and bias and arrogance. You are selling the house, you are getting your money. What difference it makes? Why you are worried about two black people buying your house? This is racism. And this does not come from vacuum. She was raised in a family who are racist. Her father, her grandfather, until the shaitan, Iblis, they were racist. So you cannot. This is why you have conflict. Because some people by nature are evil or ignorant, by nature. Nothing will change them. Trump announced yesterday that when I come to the office, the first thing I am going to do, what is it, the first thing? Did you hear him yesterday? The largest and the biggest deportation in the history of America is going to deport, the largest deportation in the history of this country. This is racism. He's an immigrant himself. His ancestors came from Scotland and other places. He's an immigrant. So there is evil. Some people are evil by nature, and therefore you're going to have conflict. Fir'aun said to his community, he said, "Dharuni aqtulu Musa." Allow me to murder him. Why? Why allow me to murder him? ذروني أقتل موسى وليدعو ربه. Let him seek help from his Lord. Let his Lord protect him if he can. Sarcastically say. وليدعو ربه. Why? Why do you want to murder him? إني أخاف أن يبدل دينكم أو أن يظهر في الأرض الفساد. He's altering your faith, your religion. He's bringing corruption, fasad. Fir'aun, the most corrupt and the most evil in the land, he calls Musa mufsid. He says Musa is going to bring corruption into this society. Can you imagine? The source of corruption accuses Musa. Musa, who dedicates himself to Islah, to reform, to bringing guidance and enlightenment and peace to the community. Fir'aun says he wants to implement fasad, أو أن يظهر في الأرض الفساد. Same thing Quraysh said about the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Quraysh said to the Prophet, we were a peaceful society. You came, you corrupted our young ones. أفسدت شبابنا. You destroyed our life. We were harmonious, loving each other, living in a stable society, prosperous, peaceful. You came, you created division, disunity, corruption. You corrupted our young ones. They are accusing the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The most corrupt society, Quraysh in Mecca. The most corrupt society on earth. Accusing Rasulullah, the messenger of God, who is a source of mercy and kindness and peace. Accusing him that you corrupted our society. Same thing they said about Nuh. His community, they accused him. You are a source of corruption. You are a source of disstability. Same thing said about Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim was sentenced to death by his own community. Why did you destroy our idols? You are committing mischief. They sentenced him to death, to fire. Same thing, some historians, Muslim historians, accuse Imam Ali alayhi salam. They say Imam Ali ruled for 4 years and 9 months, but the entire period was bloodshed and conflict and war, 3 devastating wars. But they don't tell you who started these wars. They don't tell you the background of the story. That Imam Ali was a man of peace. Some people, out of hate and envy, they rejected him. They did not want him to be the fourth, even the fourth caliph, let alone the first one. It was people who wanted their own desire. Talha and Zubair were his friends until the day Imam Ali became a leader. They came to him. One of them said, I want to be the governor of Basra. The other said Kufa. Imam Ali said, you are not competent, period. I cannot bring into my cabinet, into my government, incompetent people. You are not competent. So they turned against him. They said, then if you are not competent, we will teach you a lesson. With one of the wives of the Prophet, they waged a huge war in Basra, the Battle of Camel. Because they could not submit to the truth. Some people, they hate the truth. They hate justice. They hate equality. They see themselves superior and better than you. You don't deserve life. You don't deserve to live in this country, in America. You don't deserve. God created America only for certain race. So you are not welcomed here. This is sheer racism and prejudice and arrogance. So unfortunately, you cannot build peace. Conflict is unavoidable. In these cases, when haqq and batil, they clash, of course, there will be conflict. There will be conflict. Yesterday, the Congress, many Republicans and some Democrats, they are asking the president to sign the law to criminalize the international court, the International Criminal Court in The Hague, because they issued an arrest warrant against Netanyahu. So now America is going to ban the members of this court from coming to this country. They consider them criminals. They're going to take away their assets. If they have assets here in this country, they're going to take away their assets. They don't allow American companies, corporations to deal with the people of this International Criminal Court in The Hague. Why? Because you arrested, you issued an arrest warrant against Netanyahu, and you should not do that. This is American justice. Rather than saying to them, Ahsant, you issued this arrest warrant against a real criminal, a real murderer, a real bloodthirsty person. There is a blood on his hand every hour, every day. Yesterday they bombed a school that was established and run by the United Nations in Gaza. Many women and children lost their life. And this school became a refuge for those people, a refuge, because they have nowhere to go. A week ago, they bombed and they killed innocent women and children in a camp, refugee camp in Gaza. So rather than America saying to the International Court of Justice that, Ahsant, you must do this, you must arrest the entire Israeli thugs who are sitting in Tel Aviv, they are intimidating them instead, threatening them. You will be arrested. You are banned from coming to America. You will be punished. Do you see? Do you see racism? Do you see arrogance? Nothing is worse than this. Nothing is worse than this. This is why there will be clash. There will be clash. Definitely there will, because when you open your mouth to speak about justice, the moment you open your mouth, you are anti-Semitic. You should not speak. You have no right to speak. Because Israel is above everything in this life. Israel is above America. Israel is above religion, is above faith, is above the law. This is the reality in this country. How can God then, after that, bestow his mercy on such nation, on such land? I am worried. Believe me, I am worried about the future of this country. I'm not worried about the interest rate, about the economy, I'm worried about the fate of this nation. What will happen when they stand with a zalim, a wrongdoer? Everyone knows he's a wrongdoer. He's a bloodthirsty. He does not stop the war. He's enjoying the war because his existence and survival in his office depends on this war. And yet, politicians in Washington, in the White House, in the Republican, in the Democratic Party, they still support him. He's going to come and speak as a guest of honor on July 27th in the joint session of the Congress. As a guest of honor, a murderer who should be arrested and put in jail, they're going to receive him with the claps and with the praise and with support. How would God bring mercy? I am worried. I am very worried. I am worried about the future of this country. I am worried about the future of our children and grandchildren living in such society. Today also was the martyrdom of Imam Muhammad al-Jawad alayhi salatu wassalam. My condolences to the Ummah, to the Muslim Ummah worldwide, on the martyrdom of Imam al-Jawad, and also on the martyrdom, daily martyrdom of many innocent children and infants and women and civilians and elderly people in Gaza and in Palestine. We give condolences to our Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bestow patience and strength on the Palestinian people, on the Gazan people, inshallah, and bestow victory and nasr upon them, inshallah ta'ala. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal 'asri innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilus salihat.